I delicately lowered the straps of my dress from my shoulders. The soft material brushed against my skin, flowing gracefully to the ground. Charles's eyes were locked onto mine. His hands softly found their place on my waist, and his face drew closer to mine until our lips met at last. His kiss innovated the daring spirit of youth, intertwined with a hint of innocence, and that very purity only drew me deeper. I slowly pulled back and made my way to the bed. Welcome to iFire Story. Catch gripping Reddit tales of family drama, cheating wives, and betrayal. Subscribe for shocking daily stories that'll keep you hooked. How could I have foreseen that the child who helped me with the coffee maker would step into my home, prompting a sudden recollection of the toys and some personal clothing left on the couch, not to mention the way everything would change in that moment. In my moment of solitude, a simple trip to purchase a coffee maker transformed my experience, all due to the assistance of a friendly store clerk. Today, I find companionship. Who could have foreseen that an innocent young man would come into my life and guide it in such an unexpected way? Let me take you through the complete narrative from the very beginning. I am 65 years old, divorced for 20 years, and have been living on my own. There were moments when I truly valued my solitude and clung to possessions that were distinctly my own. I utilized them so often that I didn't even notice I had left them out in plain sight right in the center of the living room. It might have been just a habit, or maybe it was my way of confronting the void of being alone. Nonetheless, that morning appeared completely mundane. I intended to buy a coffee maker and carry on with my day. But that young man, Charles, changed everything when he offered his help. As I opened the door and let him in with the box, I had no idea that this seemingly ordinary day was about to take a turn toward the extraordinary. Charles, at 2560, was full of energy, exuding a welcoming charm and bursting with life. As I stepped into my home, coffee maker in hand, his eyes roamed over every corner and detail of the space. In that instant, his eyes were drawn to something captivating. The toys and the personal items of clothing I had inadvertently abandoned on the couch. Their presence had become so familiar that it completely faded from my thoughts. In my view, they seemed to be the most ordinary element of the house. Charles approached the living room with a hint of a smile, saying, "You live alone, don't you?" His eyes glimmered with playful intrigue. My face turned a vibrant shade of red. The event was so sudden and embarrassing that I was left unsure of how to react. What was required was simply for someone to arrive and prepare the coffee maker. In the end, I chose to keep these personal facets of my life private. My solitude was a deeply personal journey, one I never intended to impose on anyone else. Charles, I urge you, let's pretend none of this ever occurred, I said, my voice trembling slightly. It felt as if every one of my hopes had suddenly crumbled. Charles shot me a look, a grin blossoming on his lips. "As you desire," he replied. Nonetheless, it is evident that these issues are not easily overlooked. They undoubtedly capture the spotlight, just as you do. It left me feeling even more bewildered. I slowly turned my eyes away and softly said, "Charles, please, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more stories like this. You'll find it impossible to resist expressing your opinions once you've listened to this in its entirety. We welcome your insights in the comments section. I look forward to your thoughts with great enthusiasm. With his usual warmth and sincerity, he continued to push forward. "It's perfectly natural to feel this way when you're alone," he said, his eyes now shining with a fresh intensity. "Each individual harbors their own aspirations, you understand. However, there are instances when this kind of thing just doesn't quite measure up, right?" The delicate emphasis in his words at the conclusion struck a chord with me. He appeared to be striving to forge a connection with me, extending himself in a way that was both bold and gentle. Our eyes met for a brief instant. In that instant, a spark ignited between us, a magnetic attraction, an unspoken charm, a delicate yet deep intensity. Charles's inviting gaze wrapped around me. As time slipped away, the bond between us grew stronger. Every word he spoke echoed profoundly in my soul. In that instant, it became clear to me that my feelings were unlike anything I had ever encountered. Charles observed, "I noticed it the very first time you came to fetch the coffee maker. A strange sparkle in his eyes. You granted me a feeling I had never known before." I paused for a moment to collect my thoughts before replying. What is there to convey? My feelings were a tangled mess. However, succumbing to this temptation felt nearly unimaginable. "I did the same for you," I replied, a subtle smile playing at the corners of my mouth. "Young man, in another situation, I would have never accepted your offer for help or permitted you entry into my home. I mentioned that. Yet, deep within, I sensed a more profound emotion stirring. In some inexplicable way, Charles had found a way to infiltrate my very being, every aspect of him. The way he holds himself, his gestures, the rhythm of his words, it's all incredibly enchanting, completely tranquil, seamlessly charming. It was growing ever more challenging to keep my eyes from betraying my genuine feelings. A moment of silence lingered before I finally broke it. "I've been in these jeans and this shirt all day. They feel constricting, trying to ease the pressure. I'm going to switch into something more relaxed now. Make yourself at home and get cozy." Charles's gaze lingered on mine for a heartbeat longer than required. I tried to look away, even if just for a brief instant, but I discovered it was utterly impossible. He held my attention entirely. With every fleeting moment, the gap between us narrows. Upstairs, I elegantly slipped into a fitted spaghetti strap dress that accentuated my silhouette. I added a touch more makeup and made my way to the kitchen. As I made my way down, I noticed Charles standing by the living room door. His eyes, whether intentionally or by mere coincidence, were locked onto mine. For a moment, I paused, ensnared in a tangle of uncertainty, letting my thoughts wander, unrestrained. "Quite so," I pondered within myself. "Young man, your intentions are clearly apparent. You're a fortunate find for me, so let's seize this opportunity." I contemplated this within myself, then pretended not to notice his stare and approached him more closely. "Charles," I remarked playfully, "are you single? Are you in a relationship? Or do you discover that your evenings are often spent in isolation?" As I looked at him, a spark kindled inside me. We were so close now that every word, every gesture, every glance seemed to carry a deep meaning. As I caught a glimpse of the thrill and timid wonder in his gaze, a smile gradually blossomed on my lips. "After you finish setting up the coffee maker, how about we brew some coffee together?" I spoke, barely conscious of the slight tremor in my voice. "Shall we engage in a dialogue? I would love to hear your story." As I drew closer to him, a comforting warmth started to rise within me. Each nuance of his being pulls me in deeper. Charles sank into a chair, but restlessness took hold as he struggled to find a comfortable position. I, on the other hand, drew nearer and placed my chair right next to his. As I settled it firmly beneath me, my skirt inched up a bit, just a few centimeters, but I was sharply aware of the change. Charles's eyes rose, lingering just shy of meeting my own. His focus was unmistakable, and his genuine nature radiated clearly. I gazed at him, trying to grasp this unexpected closeness, and smiled. With a laid-back demeanor, I effortlessly crossed my legs and allowed my arm to rest over the back of my chair. "Did you find yourself a little uneasy while waiting for this?" I playfully teased, trying to bring some levity to the situation, but the tension between us continued to rise. Charles, slightly flustered, but keeping his gaze steady, asked, "How old are you?" His voice quivered slightly, ensnared in a mixture of wonder and admiration. "I thought you stood at a towering 50 feet high." A spark flickered in my eyes. Did he truly think I was 50? That was fascinating and unexpectedly flattering. A smile slowly emerged on my face. "Are you more inclined towards individuals who are 50 years of age?" I mischievously raised an eyebrow as I watched him intently. Each word, each passing moment exchanged, brought us closer, fueled by the fervor of the encounter. The look of wonder in his eyes showed just how enchanted he was by my presence. "No, that's not what I meant," he said, his voice carrying a subtle note of hesitation. "You look incredibly vibrant and beautiful." His words echoed in my soul. A soothing warmth wrapped around me, but a subtle tension simmered just out of sight. Standing at this juncture, each step forward carried a weight of discomfort. A serene quietude surrounded us in that instant. I took a deep breath and asked, "Do you have a girlfriend? Is anyone accompanying you? How do you spend your quiet evenings alone?" I felt a mix of anticipation and slight nervousness as I awaited T's answers to these questions. Charles lowered his voice, his eyes locked onto mine with unwavering focus. He conveyed his sense of isolation. In that moment, I truly believed he was. Isolated, yet it appeared to be a kind of solitude he wasn't genuinely pursuing. Our eyes met briefly, and I felt that he could grasp the intensity of my gaze. A transformation welled up inside me as I waited with eager expectation. My feelings started to solidify quickly, and I understood it was time to take action. "That's not how tonight will unfold," I asserted, my voice firm and filled with determination. My eyes found him once more, and every word I spoke carried weight. In that moment, I understood that everything was poised for a profound change. "Charles, come," I beckoned, my tone gentle and inviting, radiating warmth. I pointed to the room with the bed, and then swiftly turned away, not pausing for a second. Certainly, he would adhere to the request. I felt the sound of his footsteps following closely, his breath becoming a bit more rapid. Upon entering the bedroom, Charles lingered at the threshold. His shoulders carried a subtle strain, yet his face was keen and brimming with expectation. I turned to face him, and on his face, I noticed a captivating mix of uncertainty and excitement. "Charles, are you ready?" I asked, my tone steady and calm. I leaned in a little closer and spoke with a subtle smile. "My background is a testament to my abilities. Inhale deeply. There's truly no need for anxiety." As I approached, I gently placed my hand on his shoulder. The gentle touch seemed to ease some of his tension, while also heightening the excitement coursing through him. In that moment, Charles's lively essence met the confidence and clarity I had shaped through my journey. I delicately lowered the straps of my dress from my shoulders. The soft material brushed against my skin, flowing gracefully to the ground. Charles's eyes were locked onto mine. An atmosphere rich with fascination, curiosity, and yearning enveloped the surroundings. A spark of feeling surged inside me, but I kept my exterior calm. I moved closer to him, the silence surrounding us as if it were crafting a bond. My fingertips grazed his cheek, and then I hesitated, waiting for his next action. Charles hesitated briefly, yet in the end, he drew nearer to me. His gaze exuded a tangible blend of resolve and enthusiasm. His hands softly found their place on my waist, and his face drew nearer to mine until our lips met at last. His kiss embodied the daring spirit of youth, intertwined with a hint of innocence, and that very purity only drew me in deeper. I slowly pulled back and made my way to the bed. I permitted myself to glide down onto it with deliberate, unhurried movements. The icy sensation against my skin ignited a shiver that surged through me, heightening the excitement simmering inside. I stole a look at Charles. He lingered in that space, ensnared by uncertainty, contemplating his subsequent action. "Charles, come here," I beckoned, my voice soft and welcoming. I ran my fingers over the smooth fabric of the bed, pointing to the empty spot beside me. "Lean back. Fear wields no influence in this space." Charles crept closer and softly positioned himself beside me. It seemed we were caught in a timeless embrace, the air growing denser with every fleeting second. I turned to him, my hand gently placed on his chest, and asked in a whisper, "Have you ever thought about this moment? Can you envision it, Charles?" Charles's eyes were fixed on me, steady and unyielding. "More than merely imagining it," he expressed, his voice gentle and a touch unsteady. Yet I never thought it could genuinely materialize. In that moment, all doubts were swept away. We were connecting not just with our bodies, but also with our emotions. We were both adrift, yet there was an undeniable truth that lingered between us. The excitement I felt with Charles was a feeling I had been searching for all along. As I lay beside him, the thrill within me morphed into a wave of courage. I sat at the edge of the bed, my gaze locked on Charles as I slowly stood before him, leaning in slightly from the head of the bed. Our eyes meeting, absorbing the mix of surprise and anticipation that flickered across his expression. "Charles," I said, my voice soft but resolute. "This evening, we find ourselves in delightful company." Charles swallowed hard, his eyes fixed and resolute. His silence spoke volumes about the weight of my words. His hands gripped the edge of the bed with a fierce intensity, while his eyes began to mirror a newfound courage. With careful intention, I moved closer to his face, gently cradling his cheeks in my hands. "Let's savor this moment tonight," I whispered, leaning in closer to him. "Please refrain from asking any questions. Welcome bravery in every aspect of life." Charles's breath came in quick gasps, but he stood firm, unwilling to back down for even a moment. In that moment, we were escaping our loneliness, finding comfort in each other's presence. Charles's breath came in quick, sharp gasps. His eyes seemed to be working hard to capture every subtle detail of the moment, as if he wanted to etch it into his memory. He hesitated briefly, then placed his hands on my waist, capturing a mix of bravery and uncertainty. The initial hesitation evolved into an intense desire. The struggle to control my breath was palpable, yet the significance of the moment echoed deeply inside me. "Charles," I whispered gently, my fingers delicately exploring the lines of his face. This feeling is all-consuming, and it's genuinely awe-inspiring. Charles held steady eye contact, his voice deep and resonant, infused with a soft warmth. I resonate with your feelings, yet doesn't it appear that everything is happening at an incredible speed? The feeling I encounter is remarkably powerful and deeply beautiful. This is undoubtedly a brand new experience for me. A smile spread across my face. I approached softly and delicately placed my lips on his forehead. Charles, sometimes it's wise to release those overwhelming thoughts. Embrace the now and continue to advance, I conveyed with a soothing tone. Charles paused for a moment, then slowly shifted his hands from my waist, pulling me closer as our breaths mingled and the space between us disappeared. This moment seemed poised to transform everything for us. In that brief instant, Charles, breathless and yielding entirely, embraced his liberation. As I had previously indicated to him, he pressed on without hesitation, and the experience was truly remarkable. As I lay beside him afterward, he seemed utterly at peace, as though he had finally let go of all his worries. Charles's strong embrace surrounded me, pulling me close with a feeling of safety. My head rested against his chest, in harmony with the rhythmic pulse of his heartbeat. The rhythm echoed with a soothing yet strangely energizing vibe. Unbeknownst to me, my fingers gently traced the contours of his chest, weaving intricate patterns. Charles took a deep breath and said gently, "Margaret, this feeling I'm having right now, I've never felt such peace and calm before." His tone was filled with genuine emotion and wonder. I smiled gently, steering clear of his gaze, my head resting snugly against his chest. "Is that really the case?" I murmured gently. "Indeed," he continued, gently placing one of his hands on my back, pulling me closer. "Throughout my journey, I've been searching for something that remains just out of reach. I never thought I would pause to truly appreciate a moment like this. Yet now, in your presence, it genuinely imbues everything with significance." His words wrapped around me like a warm hug. As I lay there, in sync with the rhythmic sound of his breathing, I replied, "Charles, just being in your presence awakens feelings in me that I haven't felt in a long time. Distinctive." Charles softly wove his fingers through my hair, a warm smile lighting up his face. "I guess we've given each other exactly what we needed," he said, lost in contemplation. I lifted my eyes slightly to connect with his gaze. The authenticity and feeling of freedom evident in his expression communicated it all. "Then, let's just leave it as it is," I said. "Let us wholeheartedly seize this opportunity." Charles nodded slowly, his eyes reflecting a quiet agreement. We lingered there, entwined, letting the soothing embrace of the moment wrap around us. The tranquil ambiance and gentle illumination beyond appeared to be designed exclusively for us. Resting my head on Charles's chest, I closed my eyes and let the peaceful moment wash over me. At that instant, a notion gently crept into my awareness. I started to imagine the chance of having him stay here with me, to reshape this dwelling, these tranquil corners and quiet nights, into an environment that echoes his spirit. The idea of having him in my life brightened my entire world. Of course, it's fuller. Doubt clouded my mind regarding the journey that awaited us. What exhilarating adventures or deep bonds lay ahead in the future? Nevertheless, I was convinced of one truth. Our story had only just begun. This is just the beginning. Thanks for watching I Fire Story. If you love this gripping tale, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring the bell for more shocking Reddit stories about family drama, infidelity, and betrayal. Drop a comment with your thoughts, and we'll see you in the next story. Stay hooked.